11 Madison Park, and I am here with the wine director, Dustin Wilson. And today, we are learning how to pick some alternates for our favorite wines, and we're looking at Chardonnay. So what are the typical qualities of a Chardonnay?
Yes, so Chardonnay is a fuller-bodied white wine. Typically when most people think of Chardonnay, at least Chardonnay here in the US, they're thinking of a rich, kind of full-bodied, textured white wine, typically that's aged in oak. But I think what people really enjoy about Chardonnay is not necessarily specific aromatics and flavors, but rather the texture that the wine gives off. Some people will refer to that word buttery, which has kind of become a taboo word in the wine world. But what they're meaning is just, it kind of fills the mouth up and it's rich. It's not snappy and bright. It has some weight to it. So I think when you're thinking about alternates to that, you kind of want to find other grape varieties that have the same sort of palate feel. And while they might have different flavors or different aromatics to them, that textural experience on the palate is kind of what you're looking for.
Especially for some people, is there a way to get the texture without the oak?
Yes, exactly. And actually the wines that we're about to show are all representations of wines that have that textural component but lack the oaky part of the Chardonnay. Then it's a win-win because you still get that textural component, but then you're also going to have a wine that maybe meshes with the food a little bit better.
So you have 3 wines here. What have you chosen as alternate?
First one is from Italy, but the grape here is Pinot Bianco, which you might also know as Pinot Blanc. And this is grown in a handful of different places. Alsace is probably where it's the most famous, very northeastern France. It definitely takes on a texture and a weight and a richness and almost like an oily feel on the palate that can be very, very similar to Chardonnay. So the second wine is moving into a place in the world that I really like a lot, which is the Rhone Valley in France.
Hard not to like.
Exactly. And most people associate that area with the red wines of the region, which certainly they're most famous for those, but they also make some great white wines as well. The white grapes that you find in the Rhone, depending on what part of the Rhone you're in, is going to be either Viognier, Marsanne, or Roussanne. But all of these varieties do share that similar quality of being kind of rich and textured and weighty and have that full-bodied feel, that almost oily feel when you drink the wine. So
you can go for any of them.
You can go for any of them, yeah. So the first one here, this is from an area called Saint Péray. This one in particular is made mostly from the Marsanne. So what you get, kind of a much more earthy, much more subtle, very understated wine as far as the aromatics go. And then lastly, the third wine here, and this is kind of a shameless self-plug. This is a wine that I'm involved with. It's called Valin, and it's a winery that we started up to actually showcase Rhone grape varieties. So this one is focused a little bit more on the Viognier grape, which you also find in the Rhone. This one comes from Santa Barbara in California. So we're doing all Rhone grapes in California and Santa Barbara.
So you get a bit of California flavor with your French wine.
Exactly. So it's a little bit more sunshine in Cali, and it definitely shows through in the wine. We like to make ours known a little bit more old world kind of mentality though, so it's kind of a little bit of a lighter, brighter expression of the variety that you would typically see in California.
Well, thank you so much for delving into our Chardonnay alternates.
You got it.
Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.